Hello, my name is Paul Marois and I am the president of a company called Planet Earth Recycling. We're located in West Bank, British Columbia, and we recycle all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to talk to you today about sort of the two main streams of recycling in British Columbia today. The first one being extended producer responsibility, and the second one being commodity-driven materials. So, with that, extended producer responsibility is a relatively new concept in British Columbia, and what it does is it takes the responsibility of recycling materials that have reached the end of their life away from the consumer and puts it to the producer. Makes them responsible for putting together programs to recycle materials. The first EPR program in British Columbia was for deposit containers, pop bottles, pop cans, that sort of thing. That model has been working for about 10 or 15 years now, but within the last couple of years, more items have been added to that same type of framework for recycling. The first major addition was electronics, which started a few years back. So now, when you have electronics that have reached their end of life, you can now take them to a recycling depot like ours, and we will ensure that they get recycled. This type of program, the Extended Producer Responsibility Program, is funded by you, the consumer, up front. In other words, when you go to the store and buy a new TV or a new stereo or a new computer, you pay what's called an environmental levy. That environmental levy goes to an association which is made up of all of the producers of that type of material, and then that money is used to fund the entire recycling program. And it's used to fund things such as education and advertising, administration, collection, which is depots like us, as well as the transporters, the people who pick it up from our place and take it to the end recycler. So that's extended producer responsibility, and here are some of the things that are covered under that type of program now in British Columbia as of July 1st, 2012. So we have consumer electronics, that's your TVs, your stereos, your computers, peripherals. Also in July of this year was expanded to include some medical equipment such as stethoscopes, hearing aids, as well as gaming systems and musical instruments. That's one program. Another program is called the Small Appliance or Unplugged program. And that covers all small appliances, things such as microwave ovens, vacuum cleaners, weigh scales, kitchen appliances, clocks, that sort of thing. Another program is called sewing machines and power tools. So that's another one that was added July 1st. So any electric sewing machine or any electric power tool, including the battery packs that come with them, are now covered under an EPR program, as is outdoor power equipment. So that's a separate program, but it includes things like lawnmowers, weed eaters, hedge trimmers, snow blowers, ride-on tractors, that sort of thing. There's another one program for exercise equipment, so it covers treadmills, stationary bikes, ellipticals, that type of equipment. And then the last one is lighting. And that is for, it started off just as residential bulbs and tubes. Then in July 1st of 2012, added on was residential fixtures. So that's any type of fixture that emits light, that its main purpose is to emit light. So everything from a laser pointer on the small scale to flashlights, table lamps, floor lamps, ceiling lamps, fluorescent fixtures, that sort of material. As of October 1st, 2012, that program has expanded once again to now include commercial or ICI lighting tubes and fixtures. So that's institutional, industrial, and commercial. So now in British Columbia, if you've got anything that emits light, it can now be covered under one of these programs. And there's a network of depots throughout the province where the consumers or the ICI customers can bring that material for recycling. That's pretty much EPR in a nutshell. So now we'll go on and talk about the other type of recycling that we do, which is commodity-based or commodity-driven recycling. So things such as paper, cardboard, plastics, and scrap metals are all commodities that can be recycled, but the economics of it is that the commodity itself has a value. So whereas EPR program material, there's not intrinsic value in a piece like this. It has to be disassembled first to get to the base materials. But with commodity-based or commodity-driven recycling, the commodities that we deal in are typically types of metal, including things such as power cords, barbecue lids, stainless steel, copper, brass, and aluminum. And all of those materials have a value to the commodity. So that's what funds the program, is the value of the commodity itself. Thank you. So in British Columbia, at recycling depots like ours, consumers will bring in their electronics and drop it off to us. There's no charge for drop-off because they paid for this item up front when they bought it originally. So what we do, our purpose as a recycling depot, is just to collect the stuff and package it for shipping to its final destination. And in British Columbia, or at least in the Okanagan of BC, the electronics all get shipped to Tecumseh in Trail, which is where they are ultimately processed. What happens when the computers, for example, get to Trail? They will disassemble them. They'll pull out whatever circuit boards are inside, as well as any hard drives, and they will put those through a shredder. Because on circuit boards and in hard drives, there are trace amounts of precious metals such as gold on some of the contacts. So they will shred that material and then sell the shred to another foundry who can extract the gold and the other precious metals out of that material. The rest will end up going into the smelter at Tecumseh, and then it gets smelted, and then they can pull out the various metals horizontally out of the process. So aside from taking electronics to a recycling depot because it's the right thing to do, there are also some health implications with managing this material in the proper way. So some people may not know, but a television set, for example, has got a vacuum-packed tube, and inside that tube is a phosphor dust that's coated in lead. So it is not good for these things to be breaking or to be leaching into landfills and groundwater. So that's why it's much better to bring it to a recycling depot where it can be handled properly. Some other things that you may not consider to be hazardous or have hazards with them are things such as fluorescent light bulbs, including compact fluorescents, because they have mercury in them, as do laptop computers, also have trace amounts of mercury in them. So it's much better to put them into a recycling depot and keep them out of the landfill and keep them out of our groundwater for our generation and for generations to come. Same with lead acid batteries. It's you know, these are a commodity-driven material that has value and should be recycled, definitely, and should not be dumped. Now, there are some other items that can be recycled that you might not think can be recycled, and I'm just going to list off some of these things. We'll start with Christmas lights. So your typical Christmas light strand has copper wire in it, and this is a valuable commodity, so these can be actually recycled. In fact, our company buys Christmas lights by the pound. Other things such as the lenses off of a fluorescent light fixture. This is an acrylic plastic, and it's very easy to recycle, and it has a good value to it. So, otherwise, things such as books and magazines can be recycled. So another item that every house has, and that people may not realize is a hazard and should be recycled properly, are wall thermostats. So we use these to regulate our heat in our house, but inside each one of these is a little vial full of mercury. So this is something that should definitely not be going to the landfill. It should be going to a registered recycling depot such as ourselves. And these are covered under a national EPR program called Switch the Stat. And if you just look them up online, you'll find out where your nearest depot is. So it's important to note that any item that's covered under an EPR program or Extended Producer Responsibility Program, it's free for you to drop it off at a registered depot. There is no cost because you've already paid that cost when you purchased the item originally.